You sound like a joy to play a game with. You sound like the kind of guy that's, it's just a game, guys, but also the same man that would sit down for a game of chess and then slowly put every single piece up his asshole one at a time while staring you in the eye and going, what are you getting annoyed about? It's just a game. It's just a game. It's just a game, guys.
I like to cause chaos.
It's meandering movies, listening to Gary, Ryan, and Gavin. It's all about films, but goes off course. Will there be arguments? Of course, 'cause everyone knows their lives are dull and they have nothing else to talk about.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Meandering Movie Podcast, where we like to talk about movies and pretty much everything else that's in that umbrella world of movies, be it celebrities, celebrity news, film news, reviews, scorings. What else do we talk about with films? Films? Commentaries? Yeah, loads of stuff. Every week we try to offer you up a hot dish of interesting takes and topics, and this week I wanted to specifically talk about, and we've expanded this into a slightly larger thing because we wanted to make sure it wasn't just half a episode's worth of content. Why did Universal completely butcher the fucking Mummy, the monster universe, the monster squad in its expanded universe? And helping me tackle this big question. Why are you boys flexing so much? What are you doing?
I don't know.
Helping me answer these big questions, I have got, I'm your main host, presenter, Gary Copeland.
I am the Red Baron, Gavin Stewart.
You've been the Red Baron before.
He's leaning into it now.
You have, yeah. Ryan.
And angrily watching over us, as always, is Audio Boy.
No, he's gone.
He has work to do, so he's set us up and he's now gone.
He's gone.
He angrily did a sync clap and then left the room.
Oh no.
So your fault.
So the Monster Squad. Monster Squad consists of what? Mummy? We've done this before, right? Mummy, Ray Winston Wolfman,
Invisible Man,
Invisible Man, Dracula, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein.
Frankenstein's monster. Dr. Frankenstein is not included.
And nor is the Bride of Frankenstein.
If anyone wants to hear Gary and I come to understand who would be the best member of the Monster Squad to go on a date with, you can go back through our extensive library of episodes where Gary and I ranked quite extensively each member and decided who was the best member to go on a date.
Hey Gavin, you're ranked quite extensively.
Oh, how well am I ranked?
No, you're rank.
You just rank, man.
Oh. You fucking stink.
Oh. What the hell is that?
Paintbrush.
I love how Ryan is in such like a kind of
I've got the zoomies.
He's got the zoomies.
I've not seen anyone for 3 weeks apart from you two.
You poor bastard.
So we had, and I think starting this, we had the Monster Squad back in the day, right? So that was when they were big, their heyday, their golden time on screen, if you will.
The Monster Mash.
We had the Monster Mash. We had Mummy films. They were the classic horror films in the 1950s, right?
Yeah,
maybe 60s.
Started in the 20s.
They were the first horror films.
Started back in the 20s with a lot of them, like
20s.
They all started from their famous books. The books were massive. Frankenstein by Shelley, Dracula by
Bram Stoker.
If you think about it, it's like obviously we've got the books, we've had movies, we've had stage shows. There's probably some video games out there.
What's crazy about the Monster Squad is they are a genuine staple of history, of just pop culture, right? They are.
And then the funny thing is Universal have been doing such a great job to just tank that history and that knowledge.
And I suppose that's it. So we had the heyday was back in the 1920s and moving forwards, and then they kind of whittled away. I'm going to say late 60s.
Yeah.
Then there was the only thing we really got for about 20, maybe 30 years was the 80s Monster Squad movie, which was a comedy horror.
Yeah.
It's kind of tongue-in-cheek, not really a horror film, trying to revitalize something. And it's fine. It's a good laugh.
I think it's kind of
between things like things like kind of Scooby-Doo and stuff like that kind of took over the representation of the Monster Squad and like animated, but other than that there was nothing really on screen. Yeah.
There's also a situation where audiences kind of got fed up of those, because if you think about like how many Dracula films there were, just Dracula films. So then by the time you got to like 80s, where like the kind of slasher horrors came into play, or the 90s with the kind of the found footage kind of
the 90s,
like
interestingly though, the 90s were almost a resurgence, weren't they? Because the 90s is where we had The Mummy, you had Blade.
Yep.
You had a bunch, I mean, same thing, you had a bunch of vampire movies, and that was pre-Twilight, before vampires went all soppy.
I mean, the thing with, much like vampires in their fictional stories, they just don't die. Vampires are just always there. They're always coming back.
Solid.
They're always part of that, and zombies. It's like you just can't get fucking rid of them. They're always in media somehow.
I mean, zombies are dying now, right?
Yeah, but they're still. I mean, The Walking Dead is still going strong.
How is that show still continuing? Does anybody know? Can anybody actually answer this question? How is The Walking Dead?
Because The Walking Dead at this point has become like your Big Bang Theories, where it's just like it's nothing television that you can just put on and just.
What are the storylines? The storylines then they're still surviving.
Fuck
like
no.
surely they're either going to beat the zombies or are they going to all die to the zombies? It has
the
to go
comics
one of
haven't
either
finished. So it's like the same as Game of Thrones. Like they can't really finish it until the comics finish.
Yeah, but
they do this thing where
the comics might have taken fucking, how many comics are there? Like 30 issues, for example. And the characters are still a year old, whereas the TV show's been going for 7 years now, and all the characters are starting to look old as shit. Like, the TV show has to have a logical ending point, otherwise we're just going to end up with Hollyoaks Zombie Edition.
But they have
AKA
like
The Walking Dead.
A completely different cast. I don't think Andrew Lincoln's in it anymore. I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Carl?
He's
Carl's
gone,
dead also.
So I think it's Norman Reedus who's now like the main.
But Norman Reedus isn't even in the comics. He's made up for the show, his character.
I thought he was a villain.
Daryl's not in the comics at all. So
was he not a bad guy in the beginning of The Walking Dead? No?
I mean, he was like...
He just looks like a bad guy.
Michael Rooker was a bad guy.
I think if they redid Lord of the Rings, right? If they remade Lord of the Rings, they rebooted it, whatever it, they would get in Norman Reedus to play Boromir, because he looks like a pedophile. He looks like a diddler. Norman Reedus looks like a diddler. Right,
so like during our first year, and I'm going to tie us back to where we want to be, we talked about Brendan Fraser in so many episodes that were never connected to Brendan Fraser or the Mummy movies. This year,
I'm pretty sure it's starting just Fraser.
Brendan Fraser. I'll say
Fraser.
It's Desolation Smauga. It's Crimes of Grindelwald. I'll say it. It's Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm going to keep this alive. But this year, Gary is obsessed with pushing the narrative that Boromir is a paedophile.
He's a fucking
every
diddler.
Single episode, you try and talk about Boromir being a paedophile.
It's at the front of my head. I can't help it.
He's going to... No, I'm not going to even go down the dark path of that joke. So let's just... So yeah, Brendan Fraser, however you want to say it.
Fraser.
The Mummy movies. Brendan Fraser, the Mummy movies. We're finally going to talk about them. Because we have to.
Well, yeah, and I suppose that's going back. That's where I wanted to. It's where this came up from. Like I said, they were 90s, early 2000s,
99, 2004, 2008.
Cool. So those films came out, and they were a resurgence for the Mummy, right? And it wasn't the classic Monster Universe, the Monster Squad Mummy.
It was more kind of. It kind of changed up the genre and kind of placed itself in a kind of action adventure, kind of Indiana Jones kind of style.
I mean, that's effectively what it was, right? It was Indiana Jones with way more obvious magic, mummies and stuff, yeah?
And like, the Indiana Jones kind of, there was quite a lot of films about that time that had the same kind of characters must go on a quest kind of idea, that kind of sort of an action adventure thing, but yeah, kind of based on the Indiana Jones style. And
the Mummy, the Mummy was great, but the problem the Mummy had, don't at me. The problem the Mummy had was that it stuck to the Mummy, and that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Because if they just done the Mummy, right, and then they'd fucked off Mummy 2 and 3, because I couldn't tell you honestly what happens in either of those films. I can tell
Mummy 2 is good.
Definitely
I like
can.
Mummy 2.
That's why I'm here. Your boy, Big Red Baron Gav is going to tell you exactly what happened in those movies.
So the first Mummy I can talk about at like long, big.
Yeah.
Mummy 2 is the Scorpion King, right?
Yep. I would like to make a retraction. It was 99, and then Mum Returns was 2001, and then Tomb of the Dragon Emperor was 2008.
Okay, so I've definitely seen Mummy 2. I've never seen Mummy 3.
With Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Didn't bother seeing the third one with the Dragon Emperor tomb because he's got a kid and all that shit. Nah, didn't appeal to me.
He has a kid in the second one, and then by the third one, he's grown up and he's now the kind of like Connor. He's kind of and they were trying to set it up because they signed that actor on for 3 movies, so he was then going to take the Mummy movies and start a new trilogy with him and his kind of gang. But by the time they got to the third one, it made a really good amount of money, but no one fucking liked it. And by the time we got to 2008, everyone had forgotten about the Mummy movies. They thought, why the fuck is there a third Mummy movie? No one wants this anymore. We've moved on. We've got fucking Iron Man and everything else. It's like, see ya.
But I don't think they were bad. Like they were pretty good.
They weren't, man. They are. I remember the Scorpion King being a bit convoluted in places. Yeah. To my memory. But I mean, the funny thing is fucking banging.
Like the first one, Gary, you and I have talked about this before. I think like we were out drinking and we've chatted about the Mummy movies. Like the first Mummy movie is a perfect, faultless action adventure movie.
Yeah, I'd say
it's got all the ingredients you ever want. Of like its lead character Rick O'Connell is this kind of like dashing, like charismatic,
funny,
really capable guy, and then you've got Rachel Weisz, who's just like this headstrong kind of. Doesn't take any of the shit of Rick O'Connell.
Smoke show.
Yep. Great chemistry. They're so great together. And then you've got these funny side characters, and you've got a great villain,
John Hannah,
playing John Hannah.
And then you've got some great action coupled with some really quite frightening horror if you're young enough at the time you watch it. And then it's just fun and it's adventurous and it's got great pace to it, and you love all these characters, and it's got. It's got mummies, and everyone loves fucking mummies. I love my mummy.
It has one mummy.
No, they've got lots of mummies.
Not in the first one.
Because then he brings those mummies back to life to fight Rick at the end.
No, they're they're the sculptures, aren't they? They're like the terracotta army. They're not mummies.
No, they're like mummies that got buried with him when he got mummified, and then he brings them back, and then they fight Rick at the end.
Ryan doesn't agree. That's a face of you're wrong.
I've not seen the first one in ages, to be fair. I've seen the second one. The second one's kind of become on that list of films like Lord of the Rings and Born Identity. Like it's always on ITV4. Always.
It is.
Like anytime you put on ITV4, it's either a Lord of the Rings film, The Born Identity, or Mummy 2, but only the Mummy 2.
Why was The Rock in the Mummy 2?
Because he's the Scorpion King.
That was
obviously.
Funny enough, we then got that Scorpion King film as well, didn't we? Like,
yeah, I think
as
that
a
was
spin-off title.
There were 6 Scorpion King spin-offs, and Dwayne Rock Johnson was in one of them.
What? No, what? There were not 6 Scorpion King spin-offs.
And Dave Bautista played Drax. He played the Scorpion King, and another wrestler played the Scorpion King, and then also a UFC fighter played the Scorpion King.
Rey Mysterio.
I'm looking this up.
Scorpion
King 5, Book of Souls came out in 2018.
Yeah. There's another one they're making. Well, they were making another one, but obviously not currently, but because of the current situation.
But I don't understand.
Oh, Gary, it's very simple. He just goes and fights a big, muscular bad guy with a sword. That's the Scorpion King movies.
I tell you what, I've just a clip's come up for the Scorpion King in The Mummy Returns. That has not aged well.
It's not aged well
whatsoever.
No, Gary, literally
shit.
The movie released and it hadn't aged well, let alone like any time after it.
Oh, it's so grim. He looks like a wax model of The Rock made by a blind baby.
He looks like a PlayStation 1 animation.
He's grim.
The Mummy Returns was Dwayne The Rock Johnson's first major.
Yeah, I remember that because it was massive at the time.
Because before that, he'd only been in things like Star Trek Voyager and other such things that you both definitely know about.
So I've gone down this mummy, the Scorpion King rabbit hole here.
Yeah, me too.
The last one, The Book of Souls, was direct to video.
Yeah,
and a sequel. How do you have so many sequels for a character no one gives a fuck about?
Ron Perlman was in the third one.
I've seen 3 of them. I've seen the first, second, and third one.
Is it worth a watch?
No, not even the first one was worth it with The Rock.
I thought the first one was fun.
What I recommend is that you two now take this enforced lockdown to watch all of the Scorpion King movies.
That's not going to happen.
And we'll all reconvene and we'll do a Scorpion King episode.
Also, you didn't tell me this, that the character Matthias, who is the Scorpion King himself, has been played by a different actor
every time.
In every film, almost, except for 3 and 4, where Victor Webster, shout out to Victor Webster, came back to play the Scorpion King twice. Clearly had fuck all on.
But the thing with the Mummy and the Mummy Returns, well, the surprising thing is, because I've got the numbers here for you boys. The first Mummy came out in 1999, had a budget of 80 million, and it made 415 million.
It's a good profit.
Which is
pretty good.
A monumental amount, especially for 1999. That's an insane amount of money
especially
for a movie to make.
A mummy movie as well.
And then The Mummy Returns came out 2001, had a budget of 98 million, and made 443 million.
Wow.
Which is again, really good for a sequel.
A monumental amount of money. But this also ties back to something you were then mentioning earlier, Gary, which is when they did a follow-up to The Mummy, why did they just make it about the Mummy again?
So and that's, sorry, we've gone off on a wild tangent about the Scorpion King. That was the point of what I wanted to talk about. Why the fuck do they keep making it about the Mummy? Because what I think would have been awesome, and you guys, this is my idea, if they'd taken Rick Connell, Evie Connell, even the kid at that point, after the Mummy returns when she's pregnant, even if the kid turned up, and instead of fighting the Mummy 3 different times, 2 would have been enough, and then they could have gone after Frankenstein's monster, or Dracula, or the Wolfman, or they could have teamed up with Dr. Jekyll about some monstrous Mr. Hyde who's stalking the fucking... You know what I mean? Like stalking this small Pennsylvanian village, never knowing that Mr. Hyde was right next to them. Like, how cool would that have been? With Brendan Fraser chucking out one-liners, Rachel Weisz getting snatched away in every movie.
Because if you take the situation of, like, because obviously the Mummy and the Mummy Returns, you've got Rick O'Connell in a very specific and similar environments, which is the desert and tombs and stuff. And then for a third movie,
Sandy Cities. You forgot about Sandy Cities.
Exactly. And then for the third movie, you switch it up and you give him like Frankenstein's monster or something like that. You send him to Transylvania to fight Dracula or whatnot, and you change the environments, you change the stakes, and there's a lot to work there with, because especially
in the third one, where they literally made the effort of changing the Mummy.
Yeah,
like they changed the character. They gave a whole new history for the So they're like, oh well, we make a new monster. Like, nah, just make the Mummy Chinese. Like, really?
So wait, is it not the Mummy in the third one?
It's not Imhotep in the third one. So they've put the effort in and the thought to write a new character, like a new Mummy, instead of just using a character already there.
Again.
Yeah, and there's a snippet in the second one where they go, like, there's Yetis in it.
What?
And that's by far the most exciting bit in the whole film.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
but
really
CGI
good. Watch it.
Is bad, but
it's not that bad.
But it's bad. Trust me. Go back. I've gone back to see these movies somewhat recently. It's bad. The Tomb of the Dragon Emperor is Jet Li plays the Dragon Emperor, and when he wants, just at a whim, he can turn into a massive gorilla. And just jump
he can turn into any Chinese mythical creature. That's an inaccurate description.
Also, they clearly had Jet Li for.
But what does he turn into?
He turns into this giant.
Is it a giant gorilla?
No, it's not.
A giant gorilla. It is.
It's not. It's cool. It's like a Wendigo. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
Also, Rachel Weisz.
A dragon as well. It's pretty cool. Rachel Weisz isn't in it.
Rachel Weisz does not return for the third movie.
Are you guys saying Rachel Weisz, or are you saying Rachel Weisz?
Rachel Weisz.
I'm saying Rachel Weisz.
Rachel
You're
Weisz.
A dickhead, Gavin. Rachel Weisz. W. It's a W.
So Rachel Weisz.
There's no reason to give it a V.
So Alex is in it, as in the son.
You are.
And in the third film, his mummy does not return.
They got she read the script and she went, nah, not happening.
Fair enough.
They brought in a different actress, and she does her best, but there's no chemistry whatsoever between her and Brendan.
Because that was also a huge piece of the Mummy films, wasn't it? Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz together, they just they really do play off each other very well.
It is Brendan Fraser's only good films.
That is not true.
Monkey Bone, George of the Jungle.
That's the first movie you go to, Monkey Bone.
Monkey Bone's a solid film. Airheads.
This is only good films. Nope.
Looney Tunes Back in Action.
Nope.
Looney Tunes Back in Action's not a bad shout.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. You know what? You've proved your point with my own list. I got no arguments from me.
But this then ties into what another point we were going to talk about, which is with those mummy films, they could have span off and approached different monsters and stuff. Is after The Mummy Returns in 2004, they came out with the Hugh Jackman-led film Van Helsing.
I was just about to say, because fuck off Hugh Jackman, stick Brendan Fraser in that role. Would have been sick.
Yeah, and they have 3 monsters in Van Helsing, right?
They've got Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, who's the first one you see.
Frankenstein's monster.
Yes.
Frankenstein's monster. And I think it's
Dracula.
Is it Dracula? Yeah.
It's Dracula and a werewolf, because Hugh Jackman turns into a werewolf.
What? I don't remember Van Helsing that well.
I don't remember that either. Yeah, me neither.
I remember all of this far too well. So Van Helsing was the same director who did the first 2 Mummy movies.
Because the one thing I will say, I do remember that Van Helsing film being pretty enjoyable as well. I mean, it wasn't...
It was supposed to be the beginning of a new kind of like monster universe. Yeah. And they were maybe going to tie it into the Mummy movies.
What? That would have been so good.
Yeah, it would have.
But it had a budget of 160 million, which is, in 2004, too much money. And then it only made 300 million. And it was a critical fucking disaster. No one liked it, including me. I watched it when I was young. I hated it. I thought, give me the Mummy back. This is dog shit. Hugh Jackman, with that weird fucking hair and that terrible outfit, and like how the Catholic Church are making like machine gun crossbows. I was like,
yeah, that was weird. Robbie Coltrane was Dr. Jekyll.
Oh yeah, I remember that bit.
Yeah,
because I remember at the beginning when he turns back from from Mr. Hyde back into Dr. Jekyll, and Van Helsing rips his arm off or something.
Yeah,
and he's like the Hulk basically, isn't he? He like flies a grappling hook all the way through him. It's like a scene out of Batman. You know what film was the best Van Helsing film we got? Constantine.
Yes.
Fair.
Constantine is so good, and if Marvel are doing things correctly, they will do a Constantine movie and they'll bring back Keanu Reeves and they'll fucking put him in the MCU and everything will be fine.
Constantine's a great movie. It's one of my... It's not a great film, sorry. Let me just, for all our listeners, this isn't a great movie, but it's one of my all-time faves. Yeah, I really enjoy it every time I watch it. I've never got any problem with it.
Like the combination of the visual effects with the practical effect. Oh, Ryan's putting his hand up. Yes, Ryan?
Constantine's a DC Comics character, not Marvel.
Fuck.
Yeah, he helps out Batman. I knew that because I watched that Batman film with the dark magic. What's it called? Batman Dark Magic?
Batman Dark, it's called. Yeah.
Is it called Dark?
It's called Batman Dark.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, carry on.
The best part. That whole film, that animated movie has Batman and Constantine team up, and the entire movie, Batman, who has in this universe fought alongside Superman against aliens and pygmy, you know what I mean, like all kinds of... Gorilla Grodd is a staple, and John Constantine's going through the whole film going, yeah, Batman, we've got to use magic to take down these demons, and Batman just keeps going, like he just doesn't rate magic whatsoever. He's really pissed off with the fact that Constantine keeps trying to push magic to solve things, and it's a funny bit.
He doesn't have magic in his belt.
Doesn't have magic in his belt, can't have it. No magic for Batman.
So
anyway,
after
we've digressed again.
Van Helsing 2004 did not do well, and so once again the monster universe fell apart. So after that, they had Mummy again. 3, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor 2008. Budget.
Then we had like a pretty big gap to my memory, right? So I've not looked into this. No, because I thought the next one after that would have been the actual Dracula movie they released.
No, because we had 2008 we had Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, and then 2010 we had Wolfman with Benicio del Toro. And,
I forgot about that.
But that wasn't actually meant to ever be a part of a universe, was it? I thought that was a standalone.
Again, that was supposed to tie into the Dracula one, but it
was
the Lee Evans one, not Lee Evans, is that his name?
What, Lee Evans, the British comedian with the gigantic ears?
Luke Evans, that's what I'm trying to say.
Luke Evans, yeah.
Lee Evans Wolfman would be the most unscary Wolfman. I can't imagine any worse casting for that film.
I can.
Oh no, it's happening! It's happening!
Just sweaty, but you can't tell if he's becoming the Wolfman, if it's just normal.
Benicio del Toro is great in that movie. Him and Anthony Hopkins are really good. But they have a terrible Wolfman CGI fight. But it had a budget of 150 million, and it only made 139 million.
Also, bad for a movie.
Didn't do critically well either. So Universal just like, let's patch that then and try again.
So, and just for anyone at home who doesn't know, so from what you're saying, Gav, that was the first attempt at making a MCU-esque
Van Helsing was the first universe. Attempt. So Van Helsing in 2004.
But then after they scrapped the Van Helsing thing, they tried with the Wolfman
again. Yes, they tried
to
with
redo
Wolfman.
it again. Then they tried again with Dracula.
In 2014, they came back with Dracula Untold.
That
a
was
budget
Dracula
of 70
Untold,
million.
where it's about like the Knights Templar and shit. It's set in the 1600s.
For some reason, they tried to turn Dracula into like an Aragon type character, where he's like good and noble.
He's being like wronged by the locals.
He's protecting the people, but he doesn't want to eat people and suck their blood, but he's still he can't stop him. It's like, and then they put him in the future, him and Charles dance, and like, let the games begin, and then the movie ends, and then that was it. It just
do you know one of the best Dracula stories of recent times? Do you ever play the Castlevania revamped games on the Xbox and the PlayStation 3?
Nope. I played. Is that the one that's like a 3D
Lord
and 2D?
Lord of Shadows.
Yeah.
Or Mirror of Shadows. Yeah, they were fucking great. They were real good.
I think I
In
played Lord of Shadows.
2014, they also released Penny Dreadful. Did you guys ever watch that?
No,
I fucking love Penny Dreadful.
Yeah,
that was
on my
really good.
watch list.
And that
Like,
contained
Penny Dreadful.
pretty much everyone.
Ethan Hawke?
Ethan Hawke and
Ethan Hunt.
Green.
Ethan
Not
Hunt.
Rachel Green. That's the name of Jennifer Aniston's character in Friends.
In Friends.
Eva Green.
Eva Green.
I'm not good at names today.
Ethan Hunt's the fucking name of what's his name from Mission Impossible. So
Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. What is wrong with you both? So so then
Josh
we
Hartnett.
got
Josh
Dracula
Hartnett.
Untold.
Timothy
Josh
Dalton.
Hartman. So then we got
Dracula Untold, 2014.
which fucking was another shitter.
Budget of 70 million, and it took 217 million at the box office.
And this
Not
is
good.
the one that I do distinctly remember that Universal came out and said,
This is it, boys.
This
Here
is
we go.
it. We're redoing it. We're making a Monster Squad film. This is going to be the beginning of our new universe. It's going to be amazing. After this, we're going to be tying it into The Mummy. Then it's going to tie into the next one. Yada, 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 yada. They launched it. It done fucking shit. Like, beyond shit. And they went... And everyone went, oh, so this is the beginning of your new universe, which it's already shit. And they went, nope, we never said that. You might have misheard. No, the Mummy next year with Tom Cruise, that's the beginning of our universe. Like, you can't go back. Once you've said something nowadays, it's on the internet. Like, there's no pulling it back in, you know? It's done for.
Yeah, it's out there.
The funny thing with the Luke Evans Dracula Untold is they set it up so that the Luke Evans Dracula was going to be like the Iron Man of the what are you laughing at? What?
Lee Evans Dracula Untold.
So the Lee Evans Dracula Untold movie, Lee Evans was going to be like the Tony Stark Iron Man of it all, and he was going to like bring them all together. Lee Evans was going to bring Michael McIntyre in, and he was going to bring Russell Howard in, and they were like as Frankenstein and as all this kind of stuff, and it was like. And they were going to build this great Avengers force of monsters to save the planet.
But like, yeah, it's weird
That's the
because
other
I think they
weird
wanted to
part
have
here
them
as well.
like having the monsters as like
Heroes.
protagonists. Yeah,
Yeah, kind of like I guess like
weird.
your Venoms, your kind of your anti-heroes.
Your anti-heroes, yeah. But could you... If... Imagine this, guys. You're walking down the main street of New York and you see some costumed vigilante fly up into the sky, throw a bomb at a building, and then within 2 minutes, what would you rather come down? What looks to be a genuine Norse god, a man in a metal suit of armor, Somebody dressed in spandex, bright blue and red, flinging webs around, making jokes, awesome. And a couple of, like, spy-looking folks, right? That's option one. Or option B, a fucking hulking corpse that's just walking, stapled together. A man who flies in, made of bats, and then forms into a genuine human, sucks the blood of a young girl, and then says, "Don't worry, I've got this."
But
a man who turns into a fucking wolf
can only be on site if it's nighttime.
You know, that's not even nighttime.
The wolf guy can only be available there 1 month, 1 day a month.
And then some creepy pedo-looking fella comes in, opens up his long coat and says, "Don't worry, boys, I've got this," and drinks some bubbling potion before turning into another hulking monstrosity. Which of those are you going to pick? Genuinely.
Also, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are exactly the same size as each other. He never changed form. Yeah, he's just he's just bipolar.
Well, I'm pretty sure in the original story, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure in the original story, Mr. Hyde is like a murdering rapist. That's what the potion does to Dr. Jekyll. He just turns him into a fucking criminal.
He kills a child quite early on in the book.
Does anyone remember the box office and critical darling that was The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
I was just going to mention that.
But it's got the Invisible Man, it's got Mr. Jekyll and Hyde, it's got a vampire lady, it's got Dorian Gray.
The vampire lady is Mina Harker, so she's like the bride of Dracula.
Okay, there you go. And it's absolute fucking trash. It's like
Alan Quatermain as well.
Sean Connery's last film as well.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Oh, it's a baddie. I mean, I would have made a cameo in like the last Indiana Jones or something just to show your face again.
I always said this, but you know at the end of Skyfall when Daniel Craig goes back to his house and then that old man comes out of the shadows, he's like, I'm the gameskeeper of this place. It should have been Sean Connery that fucking was living in that house.
Gameskeeper?
That would have been class. Groundskeeper?
I never understood that guy, because when he turns up in Skyfall, he just seems... I don't know, maybe I don't know enough about Bond, but he went, I know you, Bond. And then there seemed to be this great history between the two of them that I had no fucking clue what either of them were on about. Was that on me, or is that...
That's on you.
Yeah, that is on you.
Who is he?
He's just the housekeeper.
Like the grounds... Yeah. He kind of looked after the land and stuff.
That's a terrible use of CGI. You know that house isn't real.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's not there. I was there like 3 weeks ago. It's not there.
But they used miniatures and stuff as well.
Miniature.
Do you know what house is there? Do you know what scary house is there? Jimmy Savile's house.
should have filmed it there. You're right.
Exactly.
James Bond coming out of Jimmy Savile's house.
I mean, you probably would have had to edit out the fact that people spray paint Beast on the side quite a lot.
It's good you brought up Jimmy Savile because Jimmy Savile kind of perfectly transitions into the next movie we want to talk about, which is the 2017 smash hit The Mummy starring Tom Cruise, which felt like watching Jimmy Savile at work. A budget of 125
a shambling
to
Hulk chased after a much younger prize.
Exactly.
I feel dirty.
Imagine how Tom Cruise feels after doing The Mummy.
Yeah, so like I said, Tom Cruise's Mummy, to my memory, was when they tried to properly, final time, no takesy backsies. This is going to be the new Monster Squad universe, and it fucking was so boring and shit.
And there was also like
watch horror films, right? Hannah
we'll make it.
Hack 'em.
Sorry.
No, you're right. Hannah can't hack them. Hannah's like, I can't do horror films. They give me the freaks. If we watch something that genuinely is a little bit scary, she's up for 2 nights in a row. We've got to watch them on a Friday night so she can recover by work on a Monday.
That's so precious.
She's great. We watched The Mummy, and I think within 50 minutes, Hannah just turned to me and went, "Can we please turn this off? I'm so fucking bored." There you go.
They were like, "Oh, we'll change the Mummy into like a woman. We'll have a strong female character in it." And I'm pretty sure her whole point of the film is she has to find Tom Cruise to live her life or something like that.
Yeah.
So they made it male driven anyway.
The film was meant to be about the Mummy, and I think Tom Cruise spat the dummy because he wasn't getting as much screen time as the Mummy was. So they had to change everything around to incorporate him being the main character again. He wasn't happy with it.
I would just like to give the audience context that Ryan threw up a wank sign, and it's so nice for Tom Cruise to be the first person to get a wank sign in this episode.
Yeah, I wanted to
not
clarify
me.
that wasn't for what Gary was saying. It was for Tom Cruise. Or actually, it could have just been for Gavin, even though he was silent.
It's true. You just looked at me and you thought, God, he's such a wank. The Mummy, the 2017 one, is the behind the scenes stories are so much more interesting and engaging than the actual film itself, because Tom Cruise came along, and because he's Tom Cruise, he decided to start rewriting the script. He directed some of the movie as well, certain scenes, and he started trying to build the narrative out to benefit him and his character. Yeah. So that's why it ends with like he turns into like this good guy mummy. He defeats Sofia Boutella's mummy, and then he brings his friend back to life, and then they ride off into the dead. Like all of this was all Tom Cruise's idea. Plus, like the action scene in the plane, he'd just done Mission Impossible Rogue Nation where he did that plane stunt. It went really well. It was a viral hit. So they were like, oh, let's do another plane stunt, but inside. Yeah. So they added that into the movie. It makes no sense why it's in the movie, but it's there. I guess it's a cool stunt. And then also the kind of executive producer of the films, Alex Kurtzman, who before this worked on the Amazing Spider-Man films. And if anyone remembers Amazing Spider-Man 2, there's that scene where they walk down the room and you see like the Doc Ock arms and the vulture wings. Yeah. They did the same in The Mummy, where they go to Mr. Jekyll or Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde's office, and then you see.
Well, it would have just been Dr. Jekyll's office.
Just one of them.
He doesn't like to know that he's. Doesn't want to be known as a rapist murderer. So he
Mr. Hyde doesn't need an office either. Nothing he's doing requires paperwork.
They went to Dr. Jekyll's office, and then there's vampire skulls and werewolf claws, and the book. You'll love this, Gary. The Book of the Dead from the original Brendan Fraser mummies is in there, because this was an actual movie that connected back to the Brendan Fraser mummy movies.
No way.
But like, if they're doing all that effort to do it, why don't you just actually have it?
Yeah,
like just have Brendan. Don't have Brendan Fraser in it because he's fat now, but.
Oh, leave him alone.
No, absolutely have Brendan Fraser, even though he's fat now. It would be so good to watch Tom Cruise like pelting down a corridor, getting away from the bad guy, and then he turns around and there's Brendan Fraser playing the comic relief of like, oh God, how close are they to me? You're gonna have to run. Oh,
he just gets like a mobility scooter.
John Hannah's doing nothing. What's John Hannah doing?
John Hannah's not
nothing.
Doing shit. Rachel Weisz is probably the one that's done the best out of that, right?
Rachel Weisz is probably, and because she didn't come back for 3.
Plus she's married to Daniel Craig, so lucky her.
Yeah. Is she married to Daniel Craig? I'd say lucky him.
I'd say she's also taller than Daniel Craig, probably.
We're all taller than Daniel Craig. Well, in fact, Gary isn't, but you and Ryan, you and I are.
I mean, I think Gary and I are about the same height.
No, Gary's like a wee goblin.
Rumpelstiltskin.
Am I getting the wank?
Also,
from both
see if they do have an extended universe, I want Warwick Davis's Leprechaun to be in it.
Yes. Wait, before or after he's gone to space?
I don't mind.
Wait, no, did Leprechaun go to space? No, Jason went to space. Leprechaun did go to space, didn't he?
Yeah. Also went to Harlem.
Cool. I remember when he went to the hood. Leprechaun in the hood.
So The Mummy was another failure. And then we've just had, this year, another effort to do a monster universe.
Did we?
And I think Gary, you're the only one to see this film. Yeah, Blumhouse came along. They said to little old Universal, like, hey, give us a go. We'll budget it our way. We'll make the movie work. And I haven't seen the movie.
It's good.
Ryan, I don't think you didn't see it, did you?
I tried to watch it the other day, but it didn't work. But apparently before this, they approached what's his face?
Guillermo del Toro.
Yep, about his Shape of Water being
Creature
part
from
of
the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
I always said that. I said that it was basically the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Jumping back to The Mummy, when they did the Mummy movie, they also put out an image of all these actors who were going to play the different roles in the universe.
Which Mummy film are we talking about here?
Yeah, which one of the Mummy? 50 Mummy films that we've spoken about?
The Tom Cruise one.
Right.
So Javier Bardem was going to play Frankenstein's monster. Angelina Jolie was going to play Bride of Frankenstein.
What?
Sophia Boutella was going to play a female mummy, and
Okay.
Russell Crowe was going to play Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and Tom Cruise was going to play the mummy.
That is such a shit cast.
That's such a bad cast.
Oh, and Johnny Depp was going to be the Invisible Man.
Of course he was.
Oh, fuck off. And he was going to play fucking Jack Sparrow, but invisible.
Yeah.
So, but that never happened, and then we got the 2020 film Invisible Man, who Universal distributed, but Blumhouse produced, and the budget for that movie was $7 million, and it made $122 million. So
In fairness, I
Also-
think it would have made a lot more if it had come out not now, because that film, genuinely, that film's one of the. It's a solidly good thriller. It's not a horror. They've definitely put horror elements into it because I assume Blumhouse were like, no, well, we're Blumhouse, but it's a good thriller, like straight through. It's fucking really fun.
Also, if you think about it, in terms of films going to be released this year, The Invisible Man is probably going to win quite a lot of Oscars because there's nothing else coming out.
It's going to be that and Birds of Prey.
Best actor, Invisible Man. Yeah. I mean, Taika Waititi is like, can I get Oscars again?
It's like, just go back and look at old films that you didn't watch. Just give me Oscars for it.
Done.
The thing with Invisible Man is, and this is probably like a topic we could kind of dissect at another time, but because it didn't get its like a good time in the cinema because of this whole like Corona situation, and it's had to like come out on a VOD. I was like, oh cool, I'll watch it on Amazon. But if I want to watch it, I have to rent it for $15.99. What kind of pricing are we working with here?
Is it only a rent? No, I thought you could buy it.
I can only rent it on Amazon Prime. Some of them you can buy,
rent
some
it
of
at the
them you can
PlayStation
rent.
Store.
I probably can, but
My
again,
God,
pricing
and
is still
that's
like, it's still like £15, which is more expensive than if I was to
That's
buy
a
a ticket
ridiculous
to the
price
cinema.
point. Yeah, I get why that is though. Like, granted, it sucks for you because, and I agree, it is too high because it sucks because it's 15 quid to watch it for one person. But if you bought that for your house, you, Philip, if you lived, you know what I mean, like whoever lives with you would get to also watch that film. So I get why it's high. However, I think if they just went, you know what, bollocks to it. £6 to rent it, they would have made a shit ton more money because people just like,
exactly.
fuck it, I'll do that. They just went out
Because
to the
it's not like a huge release. Like no one's desperate to be watching it. Like if
Yeah,
anything,
like,
I think I found like A Quiet Place 2. If they'd released that, they would have made a shitload of money on that. I think more people would just bought that than people would have actually gone to the cinema to see it. The only thing is, as soon as you put it online, people are just going to pirate it and then it's out there and it's done. You know what I mean? Like, so you have to play that risk. So they're probably charging £15 because they need as much money from it as they can get, because they know for a fact that as soon as they've put it on, someone's just going to fucking record it on their phone or steal it, which is shit. Yep. Just to keep the main monster squad.
Everyone
humans.
We all got pretty worked up about that one.
Yeah, I think that's like a topic we can maybe dive into in a different episode of just like, if we want.
You know what? 100%. What are cinemas going to keep doing to, like, I set up my surround sound the other day, got it all worked up again, so got my speakers sitting there, big speaker up front. Why do I need to go to the cinema? I've got a fucking huge telly, you know what I mean? Huge telly, surround sound speaker system. Just release it to me.
I've got surround sound in my bedroom, that entire wall up there that you guys can see, which no one else that was listening to the podcast can. That's where my projector goes. Like, I've got basically a cinema-sized screen. There's no one next to me making loads of fucking noise.
Nobody. Well, I was about to say nobody crunkling anything, but Hannah is the noisiest eater I've ever had the fortune of sitting next to.
Yeah, apparently I am.
You should
quite
feel very
noisy,
fortunate, so I wouldn't shout at her.
But yeah, so moving back,
one thing that definitely doesn't need, something that we'd never need to apparently go to the cinema for, is the Monster Universe movies, because apart from the Mummy movies and maybe the Invisible Man, they're all fucking dog shit. It's like,
they'll maybe bring something out eventually, but
what they're trying to do with
anytime soon,
like Marvel films and DC films and stuff, where they're trying to make them more realistic and fit in more with sort of like nowadays. So like in the comics, things that were mutants are now like they have suits or something like that, which is fine. I understand why that has to be a thing, but I think it would be so much easier to do that with the monster films. Like you could make them quite easily fit into sort of darker things just now. Like, you could go down like a Guillermo del Toro way, where it's kind of steampunky, like it was with Shape of Water, or you can have it set at a different time quite easily, or you can have it set just now. Like, there's no real, like, there's no things really tying you down like there is with sort of superhero flicks. Like, you're going to almost have your diehard comic fans that are like, oh, this isn't right and stuff. You're not going to get that. You're going to be pretty free as long as you just manage not to fuck it with your story. As long as you have a decent story and a decent reason for them all to be together, not as fucking protagonists as well. That would be so stupid.
I think one of the biggest problems that they've probably got, though, is it's that suspension of disbelief. And like Hellboy tried doing it up and up and up and up. But that suspension of disbelief of how these things stayed hidden for so long, you know?
Yeah.
Like, how do you release... Because, like, now, I mean, fuck, I assume, as much as I would love to believe that there are Sasquatches out hiding in the forest, we would have found them by now. There is absolutely no reason... Like, we know about the tribes of people that are living deep in the fucking South African forests that have never, you know, had contact with humanity, but we know they exist... So how on earth would you be able to keep anything secret in today's day and age? That's probably the biggest thing.
They'd totally go down the government's always known about it, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Whereas they do, it's an easy drop out.
But then that's why Hellboy did well, because they had all the... I think, was it Hellboy 2 or the beginning of the first Hellboy? They had that little montage of... it's the one where Ron Perlman's Hellboy is just getting bored of being undercover. So there's all those like little montage pictures of a snippet of Hellboy jumping away from a car.
It's the first Hellboy.
Is it the first one? And then he like lands in a car one day, and there's like a whole crowd around him, and he's like, yeah, get your photos, just fucking lapping it up. He's loving it.
I think, and it's the thing that Marvel kind of perfected, and I'm surprised we haven't talked more about the MCU and their whole universe building. And it's the reason DC failed, and it's what the Monster Universe needs to take kind of example of.
Yeah,
is if you want to build these universe of monster movies, just start making good movies that stand on their own first, and then maybe try and like those Mummy films. They never set out to be like, we're going to set up a universe. So like, let's just make a fun action romp movie to put out there with some good characters.
I don't think the first Mummy film even intended on having a sequel. You watch that first Mummy film, and it finishes, and they have, you know, the couple are together, the mummy's vanquished, end of.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not set up.
I mean, they clearly didn't have any ideas of a sequel in plan, because the sequel they came up with was just pretty much the same movie. It's just like the mummy comes back, and then it's like, oh, instead of chasing them with a face of sand, it's a face of water, and they've got to get this MacGuffin to this thing. It's just like, it's more or less the same.
Yeah, but then you've got the
plot.
Anubis army at the end. That's class.
Yeah, that's just because they had more. They had more money. They're just like, let's just have a big Anubis army.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think they were good films. You know, like,
they're really good films.
I don't think Dragon Emperor was that bad. Like, it kind of lost its way a little bit, and like we said earlier, there's bits in it that aren't good. But as a film for someone who's like a kid, it's good. Like, it's a good action adventure
solid
film.
Action adventure, and they're good family films, which is nice. So I'd say that's a pretty good roundup of what's wrong with the monster universe. Why are we probably never going to get one? I have a final question, final thoughts, and I'm interested in what you guys think and what the first thing that comes to your minds are. What are some other... And this is interesting because this, you know, the franchise we've just talked about has died time and time and time and time and time again. But what have been the franchise killing movies of some other series that we've got?
Batman and Robin.
There.
Batman and Robin was such a hot turd.
But then that was also quite bad because they were firing through Batman's like no tomorrow as well.
Yeah. It's so weird that everyone complains that Spider-Man... Oh, how many times has Spider-Man been rebooted? Not as many times as Batman, I'll think you find. Batman has had so many fucking revamps.
So many people
I also love
Batman.
it. We're like, in the 90s, they're like, hey, let's do to what they've done to James Bond, but with Batman. We're like, every movie we just have a different fucking actor playing Batman, and you're like, we went from Michael Keaton to Val Kilmer to George Clooney within a span of what, 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, I think so.
And we've also still like that's another thing as well. Still not had as many Spider-Man films as James Bond films.
It's true. Everyone likes to rag on Spidey.
Those are a whole different ball game, though. But yeah,
have we had a James Bond franchise killer? Not really.
Nope.
We barely recovered from the Pierce Brosnan
Die
films.
Another Day, like, kind of made those movies go to sleep for a wee while. We're like, we're going to
The
take a wee
Madonna
break.
song kept it alive.
If you think, okay, sure. But I would definitely say Die Another Day was like, okay, let's just back off for a wee bit, because these movies have gotten.
But I think
just
Die Another Day was,
ridiculous.
as much as it was a killer, it was also a huge revamp as well. Like, they made Die Another Day and they were like, fuck, we probably need to go back to actually thinking about these films and writing a good film. And then they released Casino Royale, which is the best James Bond film ever.
It's the second best James Bond movie. I agree. It is the second best James Bond movie.
What's the first best James Bond film, Gav?
It's Skyfall, 100%.
Skyfall's fucking boring.
Is
not
Skyfall the one
boring.
with
Javier Bardem.
Javier Bardem.
Yeah, Javier Bardem. His plan in that movie doesn't make any sense.
It does.
Here we go.
His plan to get the train, like, there are so many pieces of that plan that he has no control over.
Yeah.
And he is good,
I like
but he's
films
not
that
as
do
good
it.
as Mads Mikkelsen.
No, you can't beat Mads Mikkelsen. I mean, he got beat in the movie quite posthumously, I might add. It was a great way to deal with that character, but still, poor Mads Mikkelsen.
And then they had Quantum of Solace. God, that was shit. That was nearly a franchise killer.
I mean, Quantum of Solace was the fault of the writer's strike. We're just like, that movie came along, it got bogged down in the writer's strike. It just didn't have the budget behind it. They never really knew. They could never get a script on the go, obviously, to then start filming stuff. So it was always just kind of like getting tripped up over its own feet. And it was, the movie was dead before it even got going.
I'm going to say Jurassic Park 3 was a franchise
Yeah, I was just going
killer.
to say that. Yeah. Jurassic
Not
Park
even
3,
Jurassic Park Lost World or Jurassic
which
Park.
is a class film.
No, wait, what's the one after 3? Jurassic World, sorry.
Jurassic World.
Yeah, Jurassic Park 3 was a franchise killer. Everything after that's just been trying to recoup some of the magic. But Jurassic Park 3 is the one that fucking nail in the coffin.
That's probably down to it's the same with like pirates or with zombies or anything. It's just like people just had their fill of dinosaurs by that point.
Yeah.
It's like, we're not interested in dinosaur movies anymore. We've got this new thing over here we want to look into. And then they tried with Jurassic World, and that movie made a shocking amount of money.
Yeah.
But still, people are just like, it's absolute trash. I don't care about it.
There's only so much you can do with dinosaurs, isn't there? Like, it's the same thing with dinosaurs, which is why I at least appreciated Jurassic World's attempt to go, we made a dinosaur, it can go invisible and it's as smart as a human. Cool. Do you know what the original plan was for Jurassic World? Have we
It's
spoken
going to
about
be human
this?
dinosaurs.
How fucking great would that movie have been, though?
Wait, what was their plan?
Human dinosaur hybrids.
The original plan was the same idea that they were like engineering a dinosaur, but rather than it just being like a super clever T-Rex, it was going to be an army of human dinosaurs, and they were going to be able to fire guns and everything. Oh, that would have been sweet. That would have been amazing. It would have been great.
And they could have had a really exciting like dinosaur in Jurassic World, but it was just like, oh, it can go invisible, but when it's not invisible, it just looks like a T-Rex.
It's just a white T-Rex, albino
Exactly.
Rex.
The clear, like when you look at Jurassic Park and then even The Lost World, which a lot of people don't like, but I love, is those two movies had ideas and they ran with it. But then after that, everyone who's come to do a Jurassic Park movie since is just like, okay, let's just do the same thing that they did for the first two movies.
And do you know what's
They're
really
just like,
stupid is they could literally go in and remake, like the story could be exactly the same, if not like a little similar to Jurassic Park 1, and people will be like, yeah, that was class.
Yeah.
Work before it'll work again. Stop trying to overdo it.
I reckon I could do Jurassic Park better. I could be a better Richard Attenborough.
Do you?
The baddie of the film.
No, wait,
the
not
villain.
Richard Attenborough.
Yeah, it is
I
Richard
mean,
Attenborough.
the actor,
Is it
the
Richard?
actor's Richard Attenborough.
His name is John Hammond.
John Hammond. I could be a better John Hammond. I just reckon I could do it better. If you gave me John Hammond's budget, I could do Jurassic Park better.
Okay, Gary, I don't like. You're an amazing quiz master. Yeah, you're very good at what you do. There's a reason we all love coming to your quizzes. But sometimes there's just like a lack of giving a fuck, where things just slip through. They're so simple. They're just little small things, but they just slip through, and you're like, Gary just wasn't putting in that much effort today. I don't want to come to a massive park full of dinosaurs that can eat you on the day where you're like, nah, I can't really be fucked. Don't want that day.
It would work.
Yeah, also the idea of a theme park of dinosaurs. Oof.
Yeah, it must cost so
let's
much
just-
money as well. Who can afford that shit?
Here's change number one. Fucking stick some saddles on the like less dangerous ones and let
They
people
did that in
run
Jurassic
around.
World.
Aye, for like a fucking baby triceratops. Nah, I'm talking about, you know those fast ones that stampede?
Gallimimus?
Stick a fucking... Aye, some of them bad boys. Stick some punters on them. Send them off into the forest.
Ryan has it tattooed in his arm. What's going to happen here is your park isn't even going to get opened at all, because you want to put saddles on stampeding dinosaurs and set kids in them and let them go.
Remember when we started off talking about the monster universe?
That's a good point. Let's wrap this. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our thoughts on the monster universes. Most likely why we're not going to get a proper monster MCU.
Pirates of the
and why the
Caribbean
Monster
3?
Squad? Pirates of the Caribbean 3, another franchise killer.
How about this for a closing question, and just yes or no answer, and then we can give this to the audience as well if they want to send in their thoughts. Do any of you want a monster movie universe at all?
I do.
Yeah, I actually do.
Okay, we'll send it out to the audience and they can send in and let us know.
Let us know what you do with it. Let us know if you want antagonistic monster universe people, if you want them to be protagonist, you know what I mean? Do you want them to be the heroes, the villains? What would you do with the Monster Squad?
I know what they should do.
With us.
I meant to mention this earlier. Remember the animated Mummy show that was on CBBC? I think it would have been. It was like based on Rick and Evie O'Connell. Yeah, they were the characters, and the kid was in it. And it was basically based off the storyline of this. They just do that because they fought werewolves in that.
Oh, the kid had the
manacle,
the wrist manacle,
the amulet thing.
Yeah, that thing was fucking dope.
Yeah,
then
that
he got
was
something
cool.
else in the second season, didn't he? He got a different manacle. Can't remember what it was in the second season. Right, that's it from us, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening. Gav, if they want to send in their Monster Squad thoughts, where can they do that?
So you can hit us up on all the social medias. So on Twitter, that's @MeanderingPod. Facebook and Instagram, I want you to search for Meandering Movie Podcast. And if you want to send us an email, that's meanderingmoviepodcast@gmail.com. If you're on iTunes or you're on Spotify, you just scroll down to the description. There's links for everything there for you to click, including links to such things as Gary's Twitch, because Gary's twitching right now. Tell them about that, Gary.
Every single weeknight, you can join in on twitch.tv/Pixels Cafe. I'm running an hour and a bit quiz, 40 questions, 4 rounds, and yeah, it's just for a bit of fun during these trying times to try and give you folks something enjoyable to do. That was an awkward pause. Thank you so much for listening, ladies and gentlemen. That is us, the Meandering Movie Podcast gang. We'll speak to you next week.
Bye.
Music is life.
It's Meandering Movies, listening to Gary, Ryan, and Gavin. It's all about films, but goes off course. Will there be arguments? Of course, 'cause everyone knows their lives are dull and they have nothing else to talk about.